Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Weathering the Storm, the Professional Services Expert Panel. Today, we've got an amazing panel of people and experts to be able to help those in the professional services industries to really navigate their way through the COVID-19 crisis, to give you some ideas on what we need to be focusing on right now, and also what is likely to be coming next. My name is Jeremy Carter, and I'll be the panel moderator today. These workshops are an initiative of the Blacktown City Council in partnership with the Hills Shire Council, Cumberland Council, and also Penrith Council. Myself, just a little bit of my background. I've been a business coach for the last 15 years. I have a real passion for helping small to medium enterprises grow and thrive. I've been lucky enough to work with the Hills Shire Council for the last 4 years on their Smart Series business education, and also have helped the Blacktown City Council kick off their business education program called the Business Success Program. To provide a little bit of context for today's discussion, there's a report just released last week by the Department of Education, Skills and Employment, and they did a bit of research into how COVID-19 has been affecting businesses. The survey found that 58% of businesses have really been affected a great deal. 67% have experienced lower demand for their goods and services, and 37% are already running into cash flow issues. What this has really led to is businesses cutting costs, reducing staff. The survey found 30% have reduced staff, and 28% plan to further reduce staff in the coming months. So there's no doubt that right now it's not an easy time to be in small business for a lot of small businesses. We're going to talk specifically today about professional services. If you're interested in staying up to date with this information, I've put a link there about this report, and you'll be able to keep in the loop with further information. So I'd like to take a minute to introduce our expert panel today and start with Stephen Garrard, who's the Senior Coordinator of Economic Development at the Hills Shire Council. He's worked in the Economic Development Department for over 10 years and has spearheaded many business-related initiatives for Council, focusing on business support, investment attraction, and tourism. He plays very much a proactive role within his profession, acting as the New South Wales Deputy Chair for Economic Development Australia. Steve's work involves collaborating with a wide network of business associations, state and federal government agencies to facilitate the success of local businesses and attracting new businesses to the region, driving local employment opportunities. Welcome this morning, Stephen.
Thanks, Jeremy, and welcome everybody.
Next, I'd like to introduce Anthony De Cruz, the Regional Engagement Manager for Service New South Wales for Business. He's been with the organisation since 2016. He joined in the Making Business Easier project team. He was responsible for setting up the now successful business concierge service within Service New South Wales for Business. Prior to Service New South Wales, he worked in investment banking and the wealth management sector. Welcome along this morning, Anthony.
Thanks, Jeremy, and welcome everyone. Thank you.
Next, I'll introduce Ben Lees, who is currently a Principal Advisor at the New South Wales Small Business Commissioner. Ben ran the New South Wales Small Business Friendly Councils program. He's recently been taking a lead role in supporting small businesses through disasters, including the drought and summer bushfires. He comes from a family of small business owners and has a background in food safety regulation and public health. Morning, Ben.
Morning.
Julie Lockyer is a Senior Associate at New South Wales Treasury, one holding the purse strings. So she's an organisational design and learning and development professional with over 30 years experience in industries including education, manufacturing, mining and gas, government and retail. Julie has liaised with diverse client portfolios, worked on multiple projects, and has a mastery of key concepts and principles relating to the organisational design, learning and development, and manpower planning towards business strategy and outcomes. She's received international recognition for her work in workplace partnerships and high performance work practices. She's currently working hard at implementing the New South Wales Advanced Manufacturing Industry Development Strategy for the New South Wales Treasury. Welcome along this morning, Julie.
Thank you, and welcome everyone.
Justin Thomas, the head of the skills team for technology and business services at TAFE New South Wales. Justin is responsible for leading quality and responsive training in information technology, telecommunications, business operations and finance across the Western Sydney region. He has over 20 years experience across a number of senior management roles in the vocational education and training sector, and as a change leader supporting growth in organisations. With a background in creative industries, Justin is passionate about fostering innovation and design thinking methodologies to find creative solutions for business. And creativity is absolutely what a lot of businesses need right now. Justin holds a number of postgraduate qualifications in education, leadership and management. Welcome, Justin.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much, Jeremy. It's a pleasure to be here. Hi.
Fantastic. And we have Dr. Wayne Fallon, who's a senior lecturer in management at the School of Business for Western Sydney University at the Parramatta campus. Wayne is an educator and researcher in a wide range of business management topics, with experience in small and medium enterprises, manufacturing, technology and the future of work, and in community development and capacity building. He has research and consultancy experience at both local and national levels, and has held leadership roles in Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore, and in private legal practice, focusing on commercial and corporations law, and also board level experience, including the Peak Body Group for Work Integrated Learning in Australia. Welcome, Wayne. You are muted. Welcome, Wayne.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Wonderful. So the context for today's panel discussion is we've been given some amazing questions that we want to feed to the panel and to have discussions. And for people on the call today, you are welcome to also put your questions in the chat box as we proceed. This webinar will run for about an hour. However, if you want to stay on afterwards, we may have a little bit more of an informal discussion with the participants as well. But the opening question I want to put to the panel members right now is, in light of COVID-19, what should business owners be either doing or thinking about right now to give them the best chance of survival or business success moving forward? And I might start with Steve Garrard, Economic Development.
Thanks, Jeremy. Just before I answer that question, I want to thank David Helder from Blacktown Council and Helder from Cumberland Council, and also the representative from Penrith Council in putting together today's event and the other events that have been happening. I think it's a great initiative. I think the two most important things businesses need to be thinking about right now is cash flow. Cash flow is definitely key at the moment. I think having that conversation with your accountant is so important. Having regular conversations with your accountant is something that should be at the front of your mind. Second to that, I think, is connecting with your support networks. So that could be through your networking organisations. It could be to government. I think today's panel is a great representation of the types of connections that your business needs to be making. You've got a representative here from Service New South Wales, you've got someone from the Small Business Commissioner's Office, and a whole range of different areas of government. And I think it's key for all businesses to be reaching out and getting the support from your government agency at the moment.
Thank you, Steve. Let's pass across to Justin. And Justin, you're looking remarkably well rested, which I really can't believe, considering in the last month you've really had to completely rethink your business there at TAFE and how to move to online delivery.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jeremy. I think that's a great introduction. Who thought 2020 would be like it is? It's just, from the fires at the start of the year to a pandemic now, but it has certainly changed the way that we're in TAFE New South Wales have been approaching business, and we've had to recently do a complete change in the way, I guess, all our face-to-face delivery is being, delivered to moving to a connected online and modified delivery on site. But I think that's every business, and I think this COVID-19 has impacted people in so many different ways. And it's what we are really seeing is, particularly, I focus on Western Sydney area. We offer a lot of courses in IT, business, and leadership, and we obviously deal with a lot of small business owners. And they are absolutely talking about what Gerard was just mentioning, the cash flow and the issues. And and really what they're trying to do is engage with their workforce and maintain the workforce. So when things turn around and start to pick up, that they can bring the workforce back in. What's really interesting though at the moment is that a lot of people are taking this pause, absolutely to upskill. And I guess with TAFE New South Wales in mind, absolutely, if we were talking about what businesses need to think about, I think it really is about that training and workforce capability, how you're going to nurture those within your organisation to be agile enough to take advantage of all the things coming up in the future. And often that is not necessarily reskilling. It's not always a reskilling, but it's definitely an upskilling. With that in mind, like TAFE New South Wales, in partnership with the New South Wales Government, did release a whole range of fee-free courses, and these were micro-credentials that were really people. And it really highlights how many individuals are just trying to upskill and work through things. So we had Gladys Berejiklian talking about the second tranche of courses coming out. But right across the state, we've had 85,000 enrolments in these courses. And what I think it really highlights in those courses is that people are looking for practical skills. I mean, what's been really noticeable for many people is they've moved from really what quite often could be an office-based environment to suddenly working from home or working off-site. And those support networks that you have, of course, you can reach out online and do things, but there's a lot more that you need to do yourself. So we're seeing the individuals really responding to say that using this pause as an opportunity to upskill and be ready for that new demand. And just in those areas, the biggest ones that we're seeing enrolments in are very much in technical skills, using applications, leadership and management. And what's interesting is all our cybersecurity and coding programs have been very, very popular. And I think that aligns very much with the mega trends that all industries are facing with the digitalisation of workforces. And I think situations like this pandemic and COVID-19 will really just drive that need for digital capability across the whole workforce. So it's very interesting times. And I just try to moving a 5,000 teacher workforce to suddenly teaching online within a couple of months. It's quite amazing that, that it's actually happening at this time. And I think every industry would be struggling.
There's nothing like a good crisis to help us discover what we're actually capable of. And as I often say in the work that I do, your highest form of leverage as a business owner is education. Education of yourself and also education of your team. And in this time where we are investing in training our staff, one of the things to really keep in mind is the amazing technology that we've got to be able to record these training sessions and then to be able to make them available to people in the future, and really thinking leverage. So let me pass across to Wayne from Western Sydney University School of Business. What are your thoughts about where business owners ought to be focusing right now?
Well, I think a place to start, Jeremy, would be, what's happening here? Trying to understand the implications of what's going on. We hear a lot of talk about what the new normal might be. I have a suspicion, though, that the new normal might be a progressive thing. It's not a situation. It's not going to happen straight away. I think that then leads, if you like, and an opportunity to maybe think about doing things differently. And I have a suspicion that because it's not going to be a new normal, or it's going to be a new normal, something different from the past, businesses might need to think about, well, how are they going to connect with that, rather than do more of what they've been doing in the past. I suspect there's not going to be a situation of one pivot. It might require multiple pivots. And I think in general terms, your question here looks at surviving what's going on. I would try and see it more as an opportunity and resist the inclination to contract. And it's counterintuitive, but to see opportunities for growing capability in a lot of ways. Capability around market knowledge, customization, what the consumers, the clients are wanting. Upskilling's been mentioned. I think technology is a big part of that, but also business management skills, networking, starting to develop, increase collaboration, support networks, connections within your industry. And essentially to try and see it as an opportunity for growth, but growth in the capacity to be able to do business in more agile ways in the future.
Fantastic. Thank you, Wayne. So let me pass to Julie at in the Treasury, the department. What are some of the things that, from your perspective, that business owners ought to be thinking about and focusing on right now?
Well, taking that sort of one step further of the opportunities that out of sort of the bad comes the good. And I think that what we really need to do is look at those opportunities, see where we can really shine through, both from sort of a national perspective as well as a global in our supply chains, and reaching out to new customers as well that are being presented to us. But with all of that, we need to actually look at it from a strategic point of view. Look at sort of the continuity plans that we can put in place. It might be about sort of, for example, the upskilling of our workers, and especially in the area of the digital technology and advanced technologies in Industry 4.0. But along with that comes leadership skills at many levels, whether it's sort of on the floor, middle management or senior management. We're all sort of going to have different sort of, I suppose, different areas of concern, but also different areas that we can grow as well. This needs to be part of our continuity plan. We need to start looking at sort of putting a digital strategy into sort of our business strategy and looking at it from an advanced business model rather than just sort of what we've done in the past. We can keep doing.
Thank you. It's really important that for leaders, it's not about seeing what is, it's about looking to the future and seeing what can be, and taking people on the journey and doing what we can to really make the most of the situations that come our way. Anthony, let me pass to you, Service New South Wales perspective.
Yeah, from a services perspective, I think what we would like all businesses and business owners to actually look at Service New South Wales as a portal, to have a look to see what sort of guidance there's there and the support that the business owners can get, especially during these uncertain times. Small business owners can actually log in via our webpage or through by calling us on 137788, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday, and they will get a support from a personalized business concierge service. And what I mean by that is people who log in and request a call back will be attached, or a business concierge will be attached to that particular customer, and they can then understand from a customer's perspective what is it that they want to do, see the big picture, and be able to provide them with all the requirements, the links. And as you mentioned previously, it is Service New South Wales is working with the councils, the local, state and federal government, so we access all available links, all grants, fee waivers, everything that's being released by the councils or the state government and federal government. We have them all in one spot. So rather than business owners going around searching and trying to find answers, we would like business owners to come to our page, have a look around, and if they think they need more support, please register and we will keep in touch. We'll take you through the whole journey right from start to finish. And I always say, in these uncertain times, people do need to earn. So let's do the hard work for you behind the scenes and get everything. You business owners are not alone. We are there to help you. So have a look at our page and get in touch with us.
Absolutely. It's adversity. My belief is adversity doesn't come into our lives to make life hard. It comes into our lives to help us grow. And there's very often a gift in adversity when we know where to look to find it. And transformation of businesses is also very powerful. I'll never forget the first time I walked into a new Service New South Wales office. after experiencing the old RTAs with the staff sheltering behind bulletproof glass, to walking into Service New South Wales with a gentleman in a suit, concierge walking up and saying, "How can I help you?" And I really commend the work that you've now done with the business concierge to really, through your department, make setting up and also doing business in New South Wales easier for businesses. Another great place to reach out for help, of course, is the New South Wales Office of the Small Business Commissioner. And Ben's been working really hard because his office has been hit from all sides. Ben, what are some of your thoughts about where business owners ought to be focusing at the moment?
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. It's we have a unique sort of look at the world. So as you say, we deal with things like mediation, dispute resolution, particularly around commercial leases. We also do a lot of advocacy. So when small businesses get into trouble, they don't know where to turn. We're often that person who can pick up their issue and try to get it resolved. So in that capacity, we've dealt with fires, we've dealt with the floods, the recent floods, the drought. We've been the length and breadth. And I can tell you that professional services play an absolute critical role everywhere we go. They're a counsellor to their clients. They are trying to come up with a solution for everyone. And often we've heard fantastic stories of, how well they communicate, how empathetic they are, and how well they help connect people with the support services. I guess the key things that we always find around, exactly as said here, cash flow is often what people come and talk to us about. But the underlying problems are around those mega trends, getting online, connecting with their customer, adapting and evolving their business. So while in the short term, they can come to us and we can help solve a lease dispute or we can direct them to Service New South Wales. And I'd say any business needs to go to Service New South Wales and find out some support services that you can get for yourselves and your clients. I'd also say, all of that, picking up on all the fantastic things already said, the training, evolving your business model. Often it comes down to the fundamentals of business where businesses need to work on. So reinventing their business, re-looking at what their customers do. And exactly as you just said, put your customer at the center of everything, just as service have done, and you can't help but be delighted with the results.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ben. What I'm going to do is open a poll. We'd love to hear from the people on the webinar today in terms of what you've seen and how COVID-19 has affected your business. And we'll share the results with everyone a little bit later on. We've had a lot of questions about, well, what are some of the grants available to support me in my business? And I've got to say, I've been very impressed by how rapidly the federal and state governments have really come to the party with substantial business support schemes. And while there's been some criticism, I think the government's got a really good balance here with the support that's available. Initiatives including the cash flow boost that comes back through the BAS lodgements, the JobKeeper payments to really give and support employers through the next 6 months. And if you haven't heard, they have actually extended the deadline on that for businesses to be able to participate. With the grants, I think one of the things to keep in mind is you need to be on the front foot. And it's easy to come up with excuses and say, I don't have enough time. But this is where you need to build a support team around you. This is where you need to be willing to ask for help. And in this case, for many small businesses, your accountant ought to be a great first point of call to assist you in making sure you get these applications in and you get the support that you're entitled to. Cash is everything to businesses at the moment in terms of being able to support your business through the next 6 months. So there's some great initiatives there. Julie, from your perspective, what are some of the other things that businesses ought to be keeping in mind in this area?
Well, I think first of all, my sentiments are the same with Service New South Wales. It is the central point for the stimulus packages and sort of the advice for around sort of that financial support, as well as the concierge can link to the appropriate people, because sometimes it might be easy for those of us that work in government to know where to go, but from industry point of view, sometimes it's sort of oh my goodness, what do I do with this beast? And the concierge is there to sort of to help with that. An example is it's the other day I had a message from the concierge on a manufacturer who wanted to retool, and they wanted some information on, you know, how they could do that. So I was able to sort of directly link into that company and sort of help them through that process. But one of the things that's really important, I think, here is that we're collaborating at all levels of government. So at sort of the local government, state government and federal government, we're making sure that everything is available to those businesses to not only survive, but hopefully to grow sort of in the recovery stage as well. We have the Advanced Manufacturing Industry Connect, and we have that available in the Connect program in quite a few different industry sectors, where we're informing industry on the latest best practice, sort of linking to good news stories, because it actually is nice to hear some good news stories out of this, and also to look at sort of the opportunities of what's on at the moment, whether it be a webinar or sort of in the long term, going back to our normal face-to-face as well. We've also had the sort of emergency supplies portal, and that's been sort of really great to see the overwhelming sort of response for sort of businesses that want to be involved, whether they're a distributor or a manufacturer, or they could be in sort of the support services as well. And we've been able to sort of look at what we could do in the New South Wales government, but also sort of what private enterprise could do. So we've actually launched the Buy New South Wales portal, and that's sort of buy.nsw.gov.au, and look at the COVID-19 suppliers portal. And it's a business-to-business portal where you could go on, have a look. If you've got a problem with your distribution, for example, there might be somebody there that actually sort of allows you to sort of talk to that person, find out a little bit more information. And it's all about, we're all in it together. I know that's been said so many times, but it is true. We're there to sort of help in any way possible, and we can do this if we are working collaboratively.
Fantastic. And I think that's such a key word, that collaboration in a crisis. It's a team effort to get through, a team effort of the business owner with the employees, a team effort with very often your landlord and your suppliers and your customers. And the thing that really brings this all together is communication. Steve, at the Hills Shire Council, a lot of your work is around collaboration.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Just wanted to add also to the question that was originally asked. And another great support for businesses is through the Business Connect program that the state government have provided businesses, and that's an advisory service. The right person to contact directly is Graham Fitzpatrick within our region in the northwest, and he's part of the Western Sydney Business Centre team. So they offer free business advisory services. It was restricted to a number of hours, but now the state government has opened up that support to be ongoing. Now, I'm not sure the amount of hours, and I don't even know if there is now a restriction on those hours, but what's really important, and it's already been highlighted today, that you've got local councils that can connect you directly to these decision makers. You've got Service New South Wales supporting through the concierge service. You've got the Small Business Office helping with dispute resolution. You have business advisors helping through the Business Connect program. There's no better time than to get this support now from government. If you had have asked me this question a year or so ago, I would have said that in the 10 years that I've been involved in economic development, the state and federal government support as well as local support has been unprecedented, but even more so now during the pandemic. I'm absolutely blown away by the type of support. So I really would encourage businesses to reach out and take advantage of the support that's available.
Just to add to that, Stephen, the 4-hour limit that was there for Business Connect has been lifted. So now it's free, and they have unlimited access to the advisory service.
So I'd like to share a question from Mike at Thin Slice Performance, and he had a question about how should he reinvent his client relationships post COVID-19 beyond just the obvious stuff that they've done up until now. I might pass across to Justin. What are some of your thoughts about client relationships?
Look, I think that's a really interesting one, because as we've moved into COVID-19, we're doing a lot more of what we're absolutely doing now. So it's the way that we're connecting through webinars and dealing with people, and it's that personal way that we can connect using technologies and maintain those connections and those relationships. So I think it is an interesting one about what that digital presence has for your enterprise and your business, and it's about what services you can create coming out of this pandemic, because people are a lot more comfortable with these range of technologies that we have now. And I think people aren't expecting for the way that we used to work to remain when we start happening now. The other thing, I think Wayne raised a really good point earlier about that businesses and enterprise are going to have to constantly pivot. When we talk about a recovery, I don't think this is just going to be a clear-cut way that that will be businesses will return to normal. Social distancing is going to remain a long time. Sadly, we'll probably have other outbreaks and things like that of COVID-19 happening in areas. So there'll be disruption right across enterprises. So I think it really thinking about how the enterprise will maintain those business contacts, and with each pivot point that has to happen with enterprises, how you're constantly connecting with them. So it's really do your workforce have the skills to actually be able to maintain that contact and provide the services that people are looking for, and have that longer term view of what's occurring.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Justin. Wayne, would you like to add to that? We'll come back to Wayne. So I've got a question here around how is council helping local business? Are you back, Wayne?
Yeah, sorry about that. No. Can I say reinventing the client relationship is the nub of it. But there's another question to get to before that happens. And I think that question is about reinventing the business itself. And in times of fundamental change, reinventing the business could be a challenge, or think about how to reinvent the business. Once some ideas are there, working with the client can be, there is the capability then to work with the client. The other thing I would say is that relationship management might be something to give some thought to here. And the highest form, I think, or one of the highest forms of relationship management with the client is about partnership. And if appropriate, it might be useful to see the relationship with the client as a kind of partnership. And that leads to iterative conversation between the two.
Absolutely, that's a great point. This is all about communication and conversations with our clients. In fact, we've got a great question from Mirna, who's a celebrant. And she says, what can I do to go forward delivering my services? And it's so interesting how we get tied up in our thinking around, well, this is the way that things have always been done, and I can't start work again until things go back to normal. One of the things we have seen is that so many businesses moving to online, with personal trainers delivering their services online, physiotherapists, chiropractors, and even celebrants, because there's nothing to stop with the technology that's available today, you being able to transition your business to online and really leverage technology. Justin, do you want to say a few words about leveraging technology and how that can help businesses?
Yeah, look, absolutely, and I think the accessibility of technology is really changing the way things happen. And I think, again, thinking post COVID-19, I mean, sadly, I know I've been to 2 funerals quite recently. Where you've got the social distancing in place, a maximum of 10 people being at a funeral. But the service that was provided from the celebrants and the people managing those services, and the amount of people that were able to connect that may otherwise not have been able to attend the funeral, really changed that dynamic and that personal relationship in what can seem, not a personal thing joining a webcast of the service, but it meant that people that otherwise wouldn't have joined or couldn't join could. And I think that that's going to really change the expectations of what people will want in the future, and those skills to be able to offer that service. Jeremy, you talked yourself before about that advantage of being able to record sessions and record things so people can work asynchronously and view it later at a time that suits them. So I think there's that huge expectation that happens now. That's really interesting because the Celebrant is very much that personal service, that integration of bringing people together. I think it's quite an interesting one. We're thinking about how technology can change that and enable it. But the other side, I guess, with digital technology, and the biggest request that we've been having is for enterprises requesting us to upskill people about cybersecurity. And all our cybersecurity specialist trainers are absolutely in demand. But it's really right across all industries now, because as we're using more and more technology, there's a risk to an organisation that if you had a cybersecurity hack or something else, could be absolutely detrimental to a business. So I think it's more and more that for all areas of industry, understanding, what are the requirements to maintain and run a safe and secure business when you're using more and more technology within there. And that's all about, the digital literacy of knowing how to use applications, how to share files and everything else. So I think there's a lot of skills and upskilling that needs to happen there, because where we probably had everyone working on site in secure environments, we're really reliant on people using collaborative technologies. But you don't necessarily want files and client contacts and relationship information being shared beyond the people that you want to work with. So I think that whole call out about cybersecurity is absolutely critical, and it's a fundamental area for every aspect of the business that I think needs to be thought about in this new environment.
Absolutely. It's complacency leads to poor outcomes, and one of the things the crisis is doing is it's really highlighting those businesses that have worked hard to create capability and flexibility versus those that have been sitting on their laurels. Stephen, I believe Council has a couple of digital initiatives planned.
Yeah, we've already run one digital webinar focusing on getting businesses online, and that was extremely successful. We had about 120 register for that webinar, and we've also increased to do 2 additional webinars in the next month, which I've just locked in, but haven't yet got it live, but it will be on our website live today, hopefully, if not tomorrow. So I'd encourage businesses to have a look at Council's website. And that program, getting businesses online and improving their online presence, is again another great state government initiative or funded initiative through the Business Connect program. So there's an organisation called NetStripes who have helped us deliver and helped across the state deliver these webinars to get businesses online and help with their online presence. It involves quite a detailed analysis where businesses will get a little bit of an audit done on where they sit digitally at the moment, but then we'll also work through the program with that webinar to improve what they're currently doing on their online presence. It's a free webinar, so again, really encourage businesses to connect with Council or just to jump on to the websites and have a look at that support.
So that website is thehills.nsw.gov.au, and then just follow the links. So let's look towards what lies on the other side. Let's gaze a little bit into the crystal ball and talk about what may be coming and what the future holds. Let me pass back to Julie. You're looking to the future for business in Australia and professional services. What are your thoughts?
So I think it's certainly about the new norm and sort of what that new norm will be. It certainly will sort of concentrate on sort of the introduction of advanced technology and how we will use technology, including cybersecurity. The state government, the New South Wales government, will support industry through the industry development strategies. We have one in cybersecurity. We will have one in advanced manufacturing, food and beverage space, because we're sort of a developing area in that space technology. And we're also looking at sort of financial services. The support is there. And I think that sort of the new norm will be in reaching out sort of that we don't have to do this on our own, that we have the support around us. We have to navigate that support, and sort of we can do that at the moment sort of through Service New South Wales, but in the long run sort of we'll also have the opportunity to sort of look at how we can advance the idea of research to commercialisation. And this is applicable to any industry, where we sort of take an idea and we collaborate with sort of the right people, and that might be a research agency, it could be a university, and we look at sort of, well, how can we develop sort of this product, this service, and make it sustainable? We also need to sort of look at that advanced knowledge, and that's through the upskilling of our existing workers, as well as looking at sort of those qualifications at any level, whether it be at the school, through our sort of regional industry engagement program, or it could be sort of at a vocational education and training, and Justin's outlined quite a lot of the programs that are available through the VET system. But also sort of in the higher education. And we need to make sure that there's a flow going through as well. It doesn't have to always be on the way up. It can be sideways as well. And that sort of will bring us to opportunities to look at our business models. How do they sort of then react sort of to that advanced technology, to that advanced sort of skills area? And if we do all of that, we're going to open the door for export and investment opportunities as well. The future is positive.
Well, I tell you, if there was one place in the world I wanted to have my business, it would right now it would be in Australia. And if there was one place in Australia, I'd say Western Sydney. Steve, you want to talk about some of the opportunities that are coming up in Western Sydney in terms of some of the things we're seeing on the macro scale and new projects coming online?
Yeah, I think what's important to highlight that through the Central District Plan, through the Greater Sydney Commission, that they've really put an emphasis on the importance of this particular industry, professional services or professional scientific and technical services, as it's classified through the NZ classification. There's over 100,000 over 100,000 businesses in New South Wales that fall within this industry, and it's nearly 20% of the makeup of our jobs in the Hills area. We find it's an extremely important profession. I know within that same document within the district plan that Norwest Business Park plays a very important role to create those knowledge-intensive jobs, and it is very much front of our agenda in making sure we achieve delivering what it is that the state government has laid out in this region.
Thank you. Ben, let me pass to you. Moving forward, to make the most of what's coming, what do business owners need to be thinking about?
Yeah, well, it is certain that Australia is a growing country. We're still investing very heavily in the infrastructure, the homes that people are going to need. So Western Sydney particularly, it's just going to keep growing. So it is important that people do invest their time in building their skills. I think it's important to plan for further disasters. I can't tell you how many times I've been through a disaster to come out, before you come out the other side, there's further dips, as it was mentioned earlier. So having good business continuity and building sort of good resilience into your business. The other thing is, do make sure that you do claim all of the government support. You put out that lovely big list of all of the government support you can get. We always find that towards the end, when they're announcing these things close down, people don't reassess where they are, so they miss out. Maybe they at the beginning they didn't qualify, but towards the end they do. So I'd say build your resources, which will help you launch into that future as we come out the other.
Absolutely, it's the packages have been put out there for a good reason, and if you're eligible, there's no reason not to go after them. And professional services, all the accountants I know are absolutely smashed with work at the moment. And if you're a business owner and you haven't already been in contact with your accountant, pick up the phone today, because again, with these sorts of grants, it's a team effort, and you want to be on the early side versus the last to get them. Anthony, looking forward to the future, what are some
I was
of
just
your
going to
thoughts?
say, sorry, Jeremy, I was just going to say before you go on, I was just going to say, often these packages change. They do change over time, which we've seen with drought, which we've seen with bushfire. It will change with COVID. There will be more rounds. So maybe you've looked at it and you're not eligible now, but do go back and have a look later on.
It's a rapidly changing, there's new growth
Rapidly changing.
almost weekly. Anthony, your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of go with Ben. Just be very, very careful. Don't just give up because your situation now, because you've got to produce some documentation to make these claims. So as Ben mentioned, at this particular moment in time, you may not cover the actual loss because this is going to happen down the track as well. It's not just in the next 2 weeks. So be careful. Make sure that you to make sure that you're kind of on top of it, you know exactly what's happening. And again, if you do not have an accountant, please come to the Business Concierge Service. We will put you in touch with Business Connect. So we don't want anybody to miss out. We don't want anyone to later find out, oh, I could have applied for it, because this is something that can make or break your business. So it's very important that everybody stays on top of this. Give us a call, like I said, ring 137788 or visit our pages, keep a link to our page and keep following. And if you do hear anything in the news or even, word of mouth, if you're not sure of it, please come to our page because we update our page daily. Any information that's released by 3 levels, 3 tiers of government or, from anywhere else that we get, we make sure that information is correct and we update our pages. So there's a lot of changes that are happening. So please, keep in touch with us.
Fantastic. So there's been a lot of talk around this idea of pivoting. And when you think about pivoting in a basketball sense, it's about keeping one foot firmly on the ground and then looking for moving the other foot to find a new direction. And Wayne, I'd like to pass to you for your thoughts on how do businesses most effectively pivot? How do they manage their mindset? How do they identify those opportunities?
Thanks, Jeremy. Especially in times of change, I think it's crucial to, and it might seem obvious, but it's crucial to understand the client, the customer, the consumer, and what their changing needs and wants are. One of the observations I would make about this lockdown period for COVID-19 is some of the people that I talk about the changing values in society. And people talk about the fact that, 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, the streets are full, packed with people walking their dogs and out for a stroll. And I wonder whether we in society will go back to the daily grind of, the 7 till 9 workday, or whether we might see the value of a different type of lifestyle. And I suspect that there will be some people in the community, at least, consumers, who will be adopting maybe different values after the experience of COVID. And it's not going to snap back anytime soon. I suspect this is going to go on for a while yet. And that sort of says to me that client customer needs and wants, their values, their interests are likely to change. And I think part of the pivoting will involve observing, reading the signs, knowing what's going on in the consumer market, understanding the client and customers, getting close to them, being connected with them. And it's the idea I mentioned earlier was the idea of possibly even commencing relationship type connections with them, where the business is in such a close contact with the client that it's more a partnership than a business connection, not otherwise a business connection.
That's fantastic. So again, that word collaboration and communication comes up. Don't put out products that you think clients want. Speak to your clients and find out what they want. And very often, this is where amazing new products can be born. And there's been some amazing success stories come out of the COVID crisis. Does anyone want to share a couple of examples that they've been aware of?
I'll start. I've had quite a few sort of in that personal protection equipment area where sort of it's been an opportunity to liaise directly with manufacturers. Normally sort of where we're doing sort of more industry development rather than sort of just business to business development. But what I would sort of suggest is looking at sort of looking at it from a broader perspective as well. And what we've been able to do is link a lot of these companies that really wanted to retool. There's been sort of some in particular that have come forward that are on sort of the initial stages, and there's others that have retooling from sort of distilleries, gin, scotch, all sorts of people I've been introduced to now. I've got a good supply network now for alcohol, but being able to link them with the industry capability network has been sort of very advantageous, not just for them, but also for their future as well. The industry capability network has the ability to look at sort of not just the COVID-19 response, but also major projects throughout Australia and at all levels, at all work packages. So it's not just about sort of looking at the tier ones and sort of the major proponents, but it's also sort of going down into those smaller work packages as well, and bringing out opportunities to link with the right people, look at the particular work packages that are available. So the good news stories has been sort of that extension of what they're doing, suddenly realizing that sort of they might have sort of decided to go down this avenue because of a reactive, but they've turned it into a proactive and said, well, okay, I can continue this as long as I have the right sort of the right business model in place, because it has to be my business decision to go through that. And I'd sort of come back to what you were saying earlier, Jeremy, you know, sort of I'm not here to give financial advice, but that sort of really needs to be sort of an accountant and look at your sort of financial situation, whether you should be sort of investing in sort of new machinery. But there is support there to do things like that. And there's been some really great stories coming out of the manufacturing industry and looking at opportunities. I've also had one particular company, and the councils will be happy with this one. They are a Northern Beaches manufacturer, and they've decided that this is the time that they need to actually expand. And I've been able to sort of talk to them about sort of the Western Sydney attraction, and looking at it, sort of we've linked them to the Western Sydney Investment Attraction Office within New South Wales Treasury, and looking at sort of how we could support them in their move to Western Sydney as well. So that's been good.
Thank you, Julie. It's the interesting thing in times like this is that businesses are looking hard at how they operate and why they do what they do. And over the last 15 years, there's been a drive to let's take every ounce of fat out of the supply chain and move to efficiency. But I think there's that realization now around we need to diversify and reduce costs. And so there's definitely opportunities for professional services out there to get it in with organizations that they've never had previously. Steve, I might pass to you. We've had a couple of questions around, well, how do local businesses get access to being a supplier on council contracts?
Through the Hills Shire Council, on our website, you can register to list your business to be able to tender or get notifications to be able to tender for any procurement contracts or issues, work or projects that are listed. And it's not dissimilar to the other local councils. But what I'd probably, again, suggest to do is to introduce yourself through Council's Business Visits program. And I know, again, our neighbouring councils have a similar type of program to firstly put a face to that name, obviously being online at the moment. But introducing yourself to council is, I think, the step in the right direction, and then being able to be connected into the different areas. It is something I'm actually currently right now talking with our leadership team to how we can look at driving local expenditure and more better engagement with our local businesses, and trying to have a process where our local businesses are more aware and communicate better regarding these opportunities. I know the state government and local councils are currently looking at fast tracking a lot of these shovel-ready jobs, and I think it's so important now, more than ever, that businesses are aware of some of these opportunities. So I suppose in response to the original question is connecting with myself initially, or jumping online and having a look at and registering so you get the notifications to be aware of some of those projects that are listed.
And Steve, I'd like to commend you on the council business visits program that you run in the Hills. That's quite amazing, where you actually sit down with business owners, get an understanding of where they're at, and then run them through the different resources and other local organisations that you can connect them with to be able to make the most of being part of the Hills.
Yeah, and I'd love to provide more resources to that program, because I think it is something that, ever since I first started at council 10 years ago, it's one of the catalysts to what we deliver here at council. At the moment, I'm a team of one, so an economic development team is myself, and I try to get through as many and follow up with as many businesses that I meet, and I endure to do that ongoing.
Jeremy, could I just add to that as well, is the New South Wales sort of Western Sydney Investment Attraction Office works closely with Industry Capability Network and also the Western Sydney Business Connect in Meet the Buyer Forum. They've been holding these forums for a few years now, and they're a great opportunity for sort of anybody at any level within that supply chain of work packages to meet the proponents, to talk about sort of their capability and their capacity to deliver. And it's a really good way of sort of, again, sort of having a look at what are the opportunities out there.
Jeremy, I'd also like to add, in the Hills, we hosted one of those events. It was in partnership with ICN, the Western Sydney Business Connection, and Trade and Investment. It was extremely successful, and we're looking to hold another one this year. Obviously in a different way. Then it's a strategic matchmaking event. It's like a little bit like speed dating, although it's not probably the right term to use. But the results that we achieved in our first event with that initiative was sensational, and it's something that we're looking to do again this year.
Fantastic. Thank you, Steve. And for me, it's been exciting also that we're seeing a shift in sentiment, both from the government perspective, in terms of supporting more Australian businesses and capability, but also from consumers who are now talking about things like, we want an Australian-made aisle just in the supermarket. And I want to put a reminder out to everyone on the webinar today that we can't just look to government to solve all of our issues. We also need to step up and do that ourselves. And this comes down to voting with our wallets, to look where we can to support Australian organisations, and also to communicate with our local members of parliament and participate in these sorts of discussions, because they're not mind readers. They are there to represent us. And when we have a voice and we talk to them, this is where amazing things happen. Also a note that we've had some amazing knowledge and ideas shared with us today. And knowledge is one thing, but if you want to make it powerful, you've got to put it into action. So I strongly recommend that you prioritise some of the things that you're going to take out of today. We will make a replay of this call available, but I'd like to thank all of our panelists today, Anthony, Julie, Wayne, Ben, Stephen and Justin. Thank you so much for making the time available and sharing your thoughts and knowledge so generously.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks to everyone for organising this.
And I'd like to thank Blacktown City Council, David Somerville, for coming up with this initiative, and for the Hills, Steve Garrard, Penrith City Council and Cumberland City Council also in coming on board to support this initiative. Please take a minute to fill out the feedback survey. We'd love your feedback on this. We are planning more future events, and we want to make sure we deliver what you guys want. So it would be greatly appreciated if you could do that. And we sincerely hope to see you at a future event. Thank you everyone for coming today.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.